Welcome to Fishing Without Bait, a lifetime without definitive expectations, where we help people explode into their lives with full impact mindfulness. We're not looking for people who want to find themselves. We're looking for people who want to create themselves. If you have the honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness to try, then a few pixie dust sprinkles of each of those, you're well on your way. So, welcome aboard. Let the adventure begin. I'm Jim Ellermeyer. I'm a behavioral health therapist, and as many of you know from our podcast, we offer an eclectic group of guests, and today we're joined by our new friend, Rubina. Rubina, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Jim, for having me.
Could you share with our audience what your conception is, what you do, what your mission is?
So, I'm a creative education leader, and I do that with mindfulness as the main focus or the main modality, the main avenue. What that means is I teach arts education, mostly to high school and also early college years. And I've always believed that mindfulness is an avenue to creativity. And so when you said, people who are creating their lives, that's a big part of my personal philosophy is that we're all designing ourselves. And so creativity kind of it's a place where we can access once we have that space. And that's kind of what I use as the crux of my company in our design. I not only teach in schools, I also teach in workshops, professional development in organizations. Yeah, a little bit of all of that. That's my passion.
Okay, so what you're trying to get across to people is that they're important and that they have choices to make in their lives and they can choose to have a better outcome.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
everything is a choice.
So I don't think that you hatched into this or parachuted into it. So tell us about your development into your mission.
So I grew up with mindfulness, meditation, and it was a big part of my life. And I think when I was young, also, creativity was a big part of my life. I wanted to become a photographer. I actually went to art school, a world-renowned art and design college called the Art Center in Pasadena. And over here is where I kind of started to understand that photography, which was my passion, was a way of me accessing mindfulness. So that's kind of the beginning of that journey. But I had a lot of life, as we all do. And a lot of times when coming across challenges, just like you help others deal with, that was a tool that I found myself using meditation, breath work, yoga, all of these ancient techniques. It was passed down to me, luckily, was, my entry point. And so I really like to share that with the youth. And I think they really enjoy it. Not only enjoy it, I think they need it. They ask for it. A lot of my students, I'll tell them before we start our class, we're going to just take a few minutes, just a few mindful moments to slow down and come into this present moment before we kind of expect to produce something. So I believe our whole life is process oriented, but the world, the community, the society, the rat race demands us to be like on and produce. It's really product driven.
So what was the moment of clarity that you had, Rabina, the epiphany that you had where your passion for photography could translate into mindfulness and having people participate in their lives?
Yeah. So I actually worked in the entertainment industry. I worked in post production, and I thought it was something I would love. Here I was doing this dream job in LA in entertainment industry, and I started to really feel burned out and almost, I would hate to say this, but I hated it. I started to hate going to work and doing this dream job because it took me out of that essence of being creative. And then I took a break from it. And when I took a break from it, I went on, a meditation retreat and recentered. And that really was like, oh my gosh, now I want to create. Now I want to get behind the camera. Now I want to do something with it. That spark really kind of started to grow. I could just see that where that flit happened, an opportunity for things to get still, to get quiet, to take a little bit of a backseat from that go, 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 go and creating, is not just us being a pair of hands, right? Which a lot of times we feel like it is. It's not just manufacturing out things, but creating from that space, that quietness, that stillness.
The
That
quiet
was
and
rewarding.
stillness, yes. So most people do not have any conception on how to relax. And in our individualistic driven society, if you're relaxing, you're considered lazy.
Yeah, you're right. It's like if we take a break, there's that guilt. I'm not being productive, right? Instead of just saying, I'm just being with myself. And then I can get to the maybe then I can provide something of value when I do it, right? We don't think of that. Nobody's taught us how to manage our mind, our activity, or our chaos, right? We don't really get equipped in our homes or schools.
Well, we often try to, I suggest to my patients when I first meet them that I say, here it is. We're spiritual beings. We just happen to be having this human experience. And this enmeshment into this human experience is a thing that's doodling your life up. And life is absurd. And you're trying to put order onto chaos. And when you grasp all these three things, our work will be done.
Yeah. When you said bringing order onto chaos, it makes me think of also, again, art or expression, creative expression is kind of putting things into order that sometimes don't make sense. And we see some artwork, you're like, what was happening here? But it's, that process, expression going through that.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So, what we try to do, and you're talking about photographs, so everything is a snapshot in time. And what we try to impress upon people is that life is not composed of days and weeks and months and years. It's composed of moments. And we try to help people to do is stay in the moment. Life's composed of memories. Everything that we have, the knickknacks, the t-shirts, the photographs, they trigger memories. So I often suggest to people that when they don't know what to do today, I would suggest that they make memories. So how do you help people make memories, Rubina?
Yeah, so I have a couple different programs. I teach, a lot of these different workshops. One of them is mindfulness through creativity, where we use mindfulness through the lens. So um, it's really interesting. I had this recent workshop with some students where we got disposable cameras. Remember those back in the day, right? Actual film. And it was very interesting to see some of these young ones who maybe think this is cool or there's a trend looking back at film, but give them this disposable camera, go out there, take pictures together. It really had them understand the presence of that moment. We're used to these digital cameras now, and, we all walk around with these smartphones, and you get a picture right away, you look at it, and then here comes the critiquing mind assessing, let me crop it, let me make it perfect. When you have this plastic thing, it kind of doesn't even feel like you're really taking a picture. You don't know what's happening. You gotta send it away and get it developed. Now it takes a few days. You get it back, and then you're like, oh, this is what it was. By the time you've already lived through that moment in that peaceful way, instead of the mind wasn't present, right? The mind wasn't critiquing. There was nothing to critique.
So, how do you help people accept and not judge when they're in a moment and they're observing something?
So breath is always happening. We're walking around doing it involuntarily, but it's also something that we can actively control, modify, and we get a result, we get an effect. And it instantly brings you into the moment because you're focused on something that's so subtle, it's happening quietly, and you really have to tune out everything just to sit there with your breath. So it's something that, maybe everyone's not comfortable closing their eyes to, do a formal meditation practice, but just taking a pause and seeing, oh, this breath is moving. And then, especially if you are holding a camera, sometimes you have to hold that camera equipment really still. You almost have to take a deep breath in and hold it as you click down the shutter. That is just bringing attention to it, letting them hear, words about it, talk to them about it. And letting them actually somatically experience it. It's a visceral experience. When you're doing it, then you realize it's there with you.
So, how do you explain to people that most people are shallow chest breathers?
Yes, we all learned to breathe when we were babies, and you watch babies sleeping and their bellies are rising and falling. And we become nervous. I think we walk around thinking we're just this part of our body. We forgot the rest of it that's happening all over. It's automatic, right? The heart's beating and all these things. And we're with our senses. So we're just seeing and smelling, eating, hearing, and then all the thoughts that are happening in our mind. So we're living in that top part of our body. And so the breath doesn't actually go in. It's just unconsciously sitting up here. And we tend to tighten up our belly, our gut, or, take a picture, suck it in, right? So we've practiced these things to become disconnected with ourselves. We all came here knowing, like you said, we all came here spiritual beings having a human experience. There was a knowing. The baby doesn't need to know anything. It trusts so much. It's accepting of everything, right? Good or bad. It doesn't know. It doesn't know any better. And we've somehow gotten away from that. We've gotten far because that's what our mind is doing. It's constantly assessing good, bad, right, wrong is what we hear from outside teachers, parents, educators, caregivers, whatever it might be, giving us input. The world, right? Media, whatever else they're exposed to is giving you input. And we forgot the real, inputs is in here.
Well, the real inputs are in there. And in our society, in our educational system, we're taught to ask permission for everything. I have to raise my hand. I have to ask permission to do this, permission to do that. So, what that does, it leads to complete lack of self confidence. So, I'm sure that you explained the biological metabolisms behind the breathing and why it works.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We lost trust in ourselves, right? We talk about trusting your guts. Um, I think in our young ages, we have lost that. I definitely see a difference in the generation now. They are definitely more verbal and more assertive maybe than when I grew up. Um, the change, asking them to connect to themselves feels a little more natural. They're really ready to look, "Oh, yeah, this," and they see that. Somebody's finally seeing me. They're asking me to connect back to myself. It's so different from what, we are seeing, like, mainstream. Maybe people are constantly inundating them. Now all of a sudden, they're getting this moment to really turn inward and ask themselves, what is this breath doing?" Starting with curiosity is a great entry point for anyone, any age, doesn't just mean in their youth. Is just like that wonder, right? That beginner's mind, as we call it, right? And mindfulness. Well, I wonder, what does my breath do? And sometimes what I'll say is, you notice actually when we're upset, we can notice the link between our breath and an emotion. So when we're upset, maybe we're angry and we're heated and it's like this heavy breath, or when we're sad, you hear the sobbing, or long exhales and sighs. And then when we're joyful, we don't notice anything in our life, right? But it's very light. And there's a lot more inhalation. We're taking in the energy the breath has. So if we stop to notice the next time, just bringing this awareness to anybody makes us start to remember, yeah, oh yeah, I was sobbing uncontrollably maybe when I was really sad. If I took that moment, if I could become aware, get a little separate from my emotion and connect back to my whole body, my being, and just modify my breath. Take a deep breath, right? We say that. Take a deep breath. We're changing that physiological experience. It's not just an emotional or something that's out there separate from us. And we assign our feelings or reasoning to the outside a lot. This is something that can be really empowering of, like, yeah, there may be something out there I'm not loving. It's not pleasant. I don't want to be part of it. But maybe I can just turn inwards and honor this, being that I'm in right now. I'm occupying this gift of this life, and take a breath when I'm stressed and watch if my thoughts can kind of calm down, right? We'll handle the situation, but first handle ourselves, right?
Oh, Well, sure. And again, acceptance is always the prelude to change, and acceptance doesn't mean approval. But we have to accept something before we can change it. And what we try to help people, we live in a society that, I'm talking really bad about our society, but a lot of it is bad. We're taught that we're not to expect any discomfort at all or deal with any discomfort. We need to correct that discomfort right away. What I help people to do is accept and deal with discomfort. When they want to stop smoking, they want to go through all these rigmaroles, and I say, stop smoking and deal with the discomfort.
When we think about acceptance, we feel like, is it a passive thing? Oh, let me just lay down like a mat and accept whoever is going to walk over me. It's not that. It's not, I guess, how did you put it too? It's not just, we're not tolerating it. We're
Acceptance is
accepting
an
it.
action word.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
one of the most repeated lines in English literature is in one of the acceptance is the answer in one of the stories in the back of the book. And it says, and acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I'm upset or disturbed is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation unacceptable to me. And until I can accept that person, place, or thing, or situation is exactly the way it is in the moment, I cannot be happy. I can find no serenity. It's not so much as what needs to be changed in the world as what needs to be changed in me and my attitudes.
It's a beautiful message. And I think that, because the way that our mind works is we are always assessing or judging or kind of trying to keep things in control. It's the mechanism of our mind, as we know, right? It's there to keep us safe. And that safety is part of the survival. Um, I think it just not when you, but when anyone, right, takes that step towards acceptance, it's just allowing the mind to step back and say, I don't have to assess this right now. This is what it's showing up as. And maybe there's a solution. I don't know. It's not whether there's a solution or not. I like how you have it without debate, right? Without that something else that you're waiting on. But just giving yourself a break. Okay, this is what it is, right? It is what it is, as we say.
Well, I have tattooed across my chest, who am I to judge? And that's what we try to get across to people. We want to become observers, okay? Observe, describe, participate. There's a saying in the 12-step world, Rubina, that you can't read the label when you're inside the bottle. And that goes for relationships, it goes for anxiety, depression, a lot of things in life. So what you do through the breath, you slow things down. And when we slow down, time slows down. And we're able to step back and look at the label, look at things rather than from them. We'll be talking next week to catch up and continue our conversation with Rubina, a delightful guest of this program. And a free prescription, fruits, nuts, and vegetables. Unplug your television and take up fishing. And for a truly mindful experience, we suggest that you fish without bait. Be mindful and do a favor for yourself. Do a kindness for yourself. Do a kindness for another. Forgive yourself and forgive another. Till all are free, none are free. Namaste, my friends.
Please check out our website at fishingwithoutbait.com, where you can listen to the show, comment on our discussions, and find out where you can subscribe to our podcast. If you're interested in flying the colors of Fishing Without Bait, click the shop icon on our website. We have clothing, mugs, cell phone cases, and so much more. Show the world that you fish without bait. This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at Sorgatron.